General Motors has some very big, very exciting news, and unfortunately it's not about self-driving, but we do have big self-driving news from Zoox and a few others, perhaps exciting stuff all around us. So that means, of course, I have to get the feedback from my good buddy Herbert from Brighter, find out what he's up to over on Brighter, and in the meantime, I'm Brian. Welcome to Future Asa. Herbert, what a week it's been. What a week it has been. By now, you have been to 1010, I bet. Yeah, maybe. Or we'll find out. Well, no, by the time this airs.
Yeah.
We've got exciting news from GM. Their Ultium battery, the final word, the final authority in batteries, which they then revised to a different Ultium. I guess the first one was the penultium battery. But this Ultium gets ultimatum. Automaker's Ultium platform is losing its name.
Yeah.
But it's getting better. They're going to continue the idea behind Ultium, which was to have modules that can be configured in different sizes and different configurations. They're going to try and build the factories themselves still. And now they hope to be able to build the factories in 18 months instead of 2 years. What are they doing, man? What is going on?
Yeah, it's pretty sad, isn't it? Because remember when they first came out swinging, saying we're going to create our own Ultium batteries. It looks like it's 2020 here. It said that, and it was going to be this thing, that a platform that does all these cars. They were so boastful about it, and everybody wrote the Tesla killer. This is it. They're done. And in fact, they discovered later, of course, Ultium. Do you remember if exactly? But wasn't it the pouch?
It's still pouches. If you look at their video, it's still pouch, which has been nothing but problems because they expand.
Yeah, they kept saying that this is the better design, it's the more advanced design, and of course, they made a mistake. So now it's they're stepping away from it. So I know that they're rebranding it because obviously the Ultium name never became a household name, and so but it's really a stepping stone to basically they're going to get out of this as far as I'm concerned.
For sure.
They made a mistake. They lost money.
Yeah. And I'm not worried about GM as a company. They've got time to get their stuff in order. This is crazy though. Battery cell development center will open in 3 years.
Yeah.
That is a long time, you guys. I don't think you understand the urgency of the issue. They'll continue to work with LG on batteries as well as Samsung to build a new $3.5 million battery plant in Indiana. So that would allow GM to continue IRA eligibility because each year the sourcing requirements get more strict. GM reduced its battery cost to $60 a kilowatt hour. Did they? I don't think that's true. Did they? Is that what they're saying? Because if true, that would be fantastic. And they're expecting another 30 to be reduced. So they think they're going to be down to $30 a kilowatt hour. Well, that would make sense. Then no wonder why they're putting such giant batteries in if they're getting paid more than they cost to build. That would be magical.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Who knows if these they're pouch style batteries? But what you said earlier makes sense. If they can, they'll say all sorts of stuff. Remember, like they'll say that this can, get to 0 to 100 in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But reality, after they actually produce it, it's not something that you can actually put into production. And then what you said makes sense, which is if by 2027, 2028, where do you think that the industry is going to be in terms of battery technology? 4680s, where is that going to be at this point? And all the Panasonics and LG, what are they going to be focused on? They're kind of always catch up. You need to kind of leapfrog in order to, stay in the game.
I mean, I say this about a lot of these companies, but guys, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's fine. But if they can actually get paid $45 a kilowatt hour and make the cells and pack for $30 a kilowatt hour, that leaves the door open for the all-new 2028 Chevy Bolt with a 300 kilowatt hour pack. I think I wouldn't put it past them. So on to the second story. This one is so exciting. We're talking about Zoox. Yeah. TeleGuidance team offers Zoox vehicle remote assistance to help them navigate unfamiliar terrain. You've got some information on this. Why don't you tell me what we're looking at here?
I do, yeah. So, whenever you hear a autonomous company, right? Cruise, Waymo, Baidu, Zoox, all these guys. And then people get in their cars and you go, my God, there's no driver. This is amazing. These guys are so far ahead of Tesla. Tesla still needs these supervised drivers. They're dead. Tesla's going to be dead because Zoox and other companies have taken over. But the way it actually works, specifically in China, for example, and I expect that the US will follow the same model. And this is what Waymo and Cruise also had to do, which is when the regulators say, yes, we allow you to go ahead and do robotaxi rides in a very specific geofenced area. At first, though, you need to do a driver supervised. You need to first have people right there to do that. Once they do that, and they show the regulators that they're doing fairly well, then they say, fine, you can now move to teleoperation. This is a person that's in a back room somewhere, and they're dialing into the car. And so this is where people are confused because they walk into the car and go, there's nobody here. There's so actually cool, somebody operating that car. You want to show that photo of that Baidu?
I would be delighted to share that photo because it is hilarious.
Yeah.
These guys are there's no human operating it. There is. They're just not in the car. They are absolutely driving it. Yeah. I mean, these guys are actually supervising, really, but it's a 1-to-1 ratio. You didn't eliminate drivers, you just moved them.
They just move them. And that's why the cost is so high. When you wonder, how is it that these companies like Cruise and Baidu can do this, but then how is it that their expenses are so high? It's because they have, like you say, 1-to-1 ratio of people actually driving. Now, if you go back to Waymo and everybody says, look, Waymo is so far ahead, do you not know their disengagement rates? It's so much better than what Tesla is able to do with their FSD. Okay?
Yeah.
We've seen some prominent analysts in Tesla stock here saying that the Waymo is just so much better than FSD.
Thousands of miles between disengagements.
And so what we've discovered is that Waymo's actually legally required to only report a disengagement if a teleoperator grabs the wheel and controls the wheel. That's a disengagement, okay? But they don't have to call it a disengagement if all the teleoperator did was not grab the wheel and take it, but it's actually watching it and goes, oh, there's a construction worker, and then they go, take this route. They use a finger, put in the screen, go this way instead. They did not grab and drive it. They don't have to report that. And so you can go all day long and have a teleoperator not touch the wheel, but then go do this, do that. Oh, there's a bus. Oh, okay. The red, they've got their stop sign out. Stop the car. They can do all this. And then the passenger is going, my God, this Waymo is brilliant. It knows what it's doing. They don't realize that this is very highly likely what's happening.
Like when Omar got in a Waymo and the next day got an email saying, we noticed you had a can of beer in the car last night. Do that again and you're kicked out. And he's like, ooh, they're watching. Yeah, they're watching. They're watching. They're watching intently. And it's not because you happen to have the beer out when there was an intervention. They're just watching. So that is difficult to scale. And I find that very, very dishonest to say that a mouse click is not a disengagement. And I get it. There's a difference between a disengagement and an intervention. But since 12.5 and really since 12.5.4, I don't disengage anymore. I don't have a reason to. I use it everywhere all the time because it is now, it just works. It just works. And if there was teleoperation, I think they would be using, they would be intervening a lot less than the humans are at Waymo today.
So I fully expect that Tesla, when they launch this program out there, that they're going to have to follow the same model that all the other companies had to, because I think it's part of the regulation, right? That first you prove it through FSD supervised, but then once you get past that stage, you can then have teleoperators, and then eventually you don't need the teleoperators or much less. And that's why that the cost will be so much less for Tesla, because they only will need intervention. Remember that one example that Elon said was, if a car goes on a one-way street and it becomes an obstruction, you got to reverse back out. It needs to reverse back out. In that kind of scenario, we might need a teleoperator to come in and rescue it. It goes, yeah, I think we just need to back out and remap, right?
Yeah.
That's one example. Why don't you show the Zoox video?
This is, you guys, I don't know if you're in the mood for some fun, but this is it.
Hi, I'm Jane. I manage the TeleGuidance team at Zoox. TeleGuidance is the team that remotely supports the vehicles in scenarios that require human context. It's almost like a second pair of eyes. In the rare case that our vehicles encounter something they're not familiar with, we suggest the path for the vehicle to autonomously navigate.
See that? They suggest the path for the vehicle to autonomy. So first of all, hey, this is great. They're advertising it. Right? We have TeleGuidance. So it's just that, again, people think they interpret these autonomous cars and they're so far ahead from Tesla, when if you bear down and really find out what these companies are actually doing, you'd be shocked to find out. It's these rooms full of teleoperators. It's this kind of interventions that people are still doing. Because, look, guys, does Zoox have a supercomputer? Do they have neural networks? Have they been going through years of FSD testing like we are? Has Cruise done that? Has Waymo done that? They have not. Now they're using the LiDAR to try to prevent, to actually know. What LiDAR can do is tell you to not hit something, but it doesn't understand the scenario. It doesn't know what they're looking at and what's actually happening. So I'm not sure how anybody can go and say that Waymo's so much further ahead than Tesla. But
the claim relies on a fundamental misunderstanding of how this works. They think, if I have a better approach, I can do the thing that Waymo spent $10 billion not getting done, and I can do it for $1 billion or $2 billion. Maybe you can. Maybe you have that genius approach. It's fun to look back. I don't know if you've ever seen, but there are people who to this day make homebrew Atari 2600 games. Mm-hmm. And these games are so amazing compared to what was actually on the market at the time, because today's engineers have had 50 years, 40 years to dial it in and know exactly what the maximum capability of the Atari 2600 was. In the future, we will see some companies spring out of nowhere and solve it for $1 billion. Sure. But it's a lot easier once it's been done by someone else, by a bunch of other people, and we're just not there yet. So that's, I think, where the misunderstanding comes from. But, Zoox is ahead, Herbert, because they have LiDAR. and that is a claim you hear. For those who didn't catch the show yesterday, I did have a big challenge, and I want to see if you guys can get it in case you missed it. Herbert knows what's coming up, but I challenge you to look at this car, and I'm going to just tell you right now, this is an autonomous vehicle, and you tell me if you can even spot the sensors. Boom. I see nothing. Guys, it's expensive. It's fragile. It's so dumb. I don't care what my taxi looks like. That's fine. But I care what it costs. And this is, between this and the human operators, it's expensive. They'll appreciate it. In the comments, you guys just let me know if you could spot it. It's so dumb. And that's fine. It doesn't have to be pretty, but it has to work, and it has to work in a cost-effective manner. If this works, if Tesla can make a small car that's not high horsepower, that's not, that's 25 grand or less to build, 20 really, and it's already got all the stuff it needs, nobody stands a chance. They'll be gobbling up market share as fast as they can build these damn things. What do you think?
Exactly what you just said. Gobbling up market shares
as fast.
Gobble.
Yeah. You remember the Pony Express? Mm-hmm. It was the fastest way to get mail, right? How long was the Pony Express in business?
I don't know. That's good.
18
American
months.
Express, right?
18 months is how long
rail?
Because rail came in that time.
Yeah.
And I don't care. It's like, well, what if we pay the riders less? Guys, it's over. It's just over. Mm. And that's what I think a lot of these companies are going to face if they don't find a way to if your car costs 10 times as much, you're you're never going to make your money back. You've got to charge a whole extra dollar just to cover the difference in manufacturing costs. That's you're dead on arrival right there. Guys, what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Tell me how much you love Herbert, because for me, it's quite a lot. It's a really high number. Oh, it is, man. It is. And I meet so many people at all these events I go to. And I would say half of the people I meet know me from your channel. And they're like, oh, you guys together are so good.
Yeah, people love it.
Yeah. So, yeah. What do we miss? What do we misunderstand? Leave it. Leave it. I insist. Them in the comments below, and stay tuned, stay juicy. And I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots when you're sauced up and getting a ride home without having to sit in the front seat.